Some people don't like to study, right? And I don't need to study and all of that. I just want to act, right? You know, everybody tells me I'm funny or, you know, I look good, or, you know, and I just want to get into it. I'm like, yeah, but how you not going to study? I don't need it. I said, the problem is good acting makes it look natural and you think you can do it. You go, well, I'm a breathing human being, so it looks like I can do that, right? The other thing is I fly all the time, probably once a week. You know, I like to fly. You know, I've never taken a pilot lesson in my life. Would you get on a plane with me in the cockpit? No. So I like to fly. You like to act, but you're never going to take a class. And I'm a producer. It just took me 6 years to get these $20 million to do this film, and I'm supposed to just give you a job? Right? You've given no thought to the craft that you'd want to become, you know, the actor that you want to be. So see it as the blessing. The real work is the downtime.
Wendell Pierce. First off, Wendell, it is an honor to be sitting with you here tonight. You gave one of the finest performances this past season as Willie Loman in Death of a Salesman, as his audience would agree.
Thank you. Thank you.
You and I had many conversations during your triumphant run. Was Willie on your bucket list of roles to play?
It's one of the great roles in the American canon. I consider it the American Hamlet. And was never something I expected to play. So it was a great surprise when it was offered to me. It was a great challenge. And one of those things that you really wanted to, I leapt at the chance to play it. So I didn't expect it. It wasn't on my radar, I would say. But I leapt at the chance to do it. Because at that point, I can honestly say that I was at a point in my career where, you know, I was wondering if my best days were behind me. And it's one of those things that that's what the role is all about also. So I knew it was going to be one of the great mergers of where I was in my personal journey along with one of the great roles. So Willie Loman taught me a lot about myself, not only as an actor, but as a man.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There were a lot of firsts with this production. The biggest one is that you were the first Black actor to ever play the role in the play's 70-year history.
Yeah, on Broadway.
Broadway, yep. Mm-hmm. There have only been 5 other actors to play him on Broadway. What does that representation mean to you?
You know, there is a great sense of accomplishment and pride when you meet a milestone like that. But it actually should also be a moment of shame.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's a point of American shame because it's not a first for my community. It's expected in our community. It is a reflection of the cultural prohibition that has denied us all the opportunity to see Ossie Davis, Willie Loman, and to see Godfrey Cambridge, you know, Willie Loman, and Roscoe Lee Brown, and Roger Robinson and all. It's actually those firsts for people of color, those milestones should be met with a moment of solemnity, with great pride that we made a stride as a society collectively to move forward, but with a reverence of how we cannot allow that ignorance to stop us from really collectively as a society of moving forward. It's a reflection of how many people were prohibited from playing the roles. And it's not something we should take lightly because we still fight with that battle today. I mean, I never thought that diversity and inclusion would be pejorative. In America in 2023, there are people that hate to hear those words, diversity, inclusion, and equity. In America, the land of the free and the brave and equality, right? People find that equality to be offensive to them. And so we have to fight against those who do not have our best interest at heart. And so while it was great, with great pride, I thought of the fraternity of men I joined, Lee J. Cobb, George C. Scott, Dustin Hoffman, Brian Dennehy, Philip Seymour Hoffman, and now Wendell Pierce. I'm very proud of that.
Yeah.
But I also thought of Ossie Davis and Roscoe Lee Brown and James Earl Jones and, Harry Belafonte and men who fought to make sure that I was there. I was standing on their shoulders and in their shadow, and that was the thing that really inspired me to give my best because I owed it to them. They paid a great price so that I could stand center stage in Broadway.
Yeah. Beautiful. You talked about it's the American Hamlet. What were the challenges of playing him, and how did you prepare both physically and mentally for this role?
Well, it's a deep dive.
Yeah.
Acting for me is to create the world so strong that it induces the behavior. So the history of the love of the family, the pain of the disappointments, and the denial that he was in. And what happens is the level of the humiliation of not achieving what he wanted in life, and what he wanted for his family, and what he wanted for his son, Biff especially. You had to create that expectation and that desire so strong that in its absence, and at this point in his life that he hasn't achieved it, the desperation that sets in because he's been lying to himself, but more than that, he is desperately trying to save his family. It's a very tangible thing. It's not just a psychological thing. It is literally a man who's been lying about his job for 17 years, and a good friend, a neighbor, is saving him. And the love of his wife and his wife's love for him is saving him. So that's the tangible expectations. And as an artist, like I'm sure everyone in here, most of the people in here are, you can have some expectations. And I was at that point in my life with maybe my best days are behind me. Maybe I've been in denial about where I am and who I am as an artist and if I can play the role and all of the fear of playing the role in light of the history of the play and how monumental it was. I tapped into that fear because that's a fear that Willie Loman has. So there's that psychological thing, and that took me on a roller coaster ride to really have me understand what psychotic breaks are. They're tangible things. They're physical things. When you are aware of them, when you aren't aware of them, what induces them. So there's a great depth of research that goes into what happens with a psychotic break. And also just the way of working. For those who have seen the play, my production, traditionally, it's been this slow dirge to death. We know the end of the play right at the beginning, death of a salesman. Yeah. We know what's going to happen, right? And there's been this tradition that has just happened over the course of years that people play the role with a slow dirge to death. And that time we all reflect on there, but by the grace of God go I. Have I done that to myself? Have I missed out on all the things he's missing out on? Am I making the same mistakes? Do I exhibit that hubris in my life? But the first thing I thought of and inspired me was always go with your instinct. And instead of that slow dirge to death, mine was this manic fight. To fight the dying of the light at all costs. And when there's no way of going past it, fighting even harder. At the last moment of death, fight the hardest. So mine was this energy that came to me, that to fight and fight and fight at all costs. And it made me think of the journey, the unique journey culturally that my father's generation had to go through as African American. This is where the aspect of me being in the role, I can bring some of my cultural experience to it. who better to know what the American dream feels like when it turns into the American nightmare than black folk, right? We have the same desires and loves and expectations and all given to us on this wonderful piece of paper called this Constitution and the values, but yet every example in our life is anathema to that, right? As I said before, with the equality. And so I tapped into that. So that preparation is a deep dive psychologically, that when you add all of that into the pool of it, all you have to do is step out, and that first domino falls, and the rest of the evening flows.
Yeah.
And then every night I had to climb Mount Everest. Yeah. And it was like looking up to the summit, but knowing, in a couple of hours I would summit, so the preparation is a deep psychological dive.
Beautiful. Please. I mean, I've spoken to the Nathan Lanes and all these people who said, fear is a good thing when you say, should I tackle this role?
Yes.
At any point in your career, they said, that's what helps drive you, saying, that scares me, I'm going to do this. Like I said, you're following in the footsteps of these great men, which you're totally entitled to be with.
Right.
But you have that fear, right?
Great fear.
Yeah.
But the thing that I learned was, with this experience and with doing this role, although I have fear, now I have courage.
Beautiful, yeah.
And courage is not acting in the absence of fear, it's acting in the face of fear. And that was a great lesson that I learned.
Yeah.
A great lesson that I learned.
What was your daily preparation for the role like before each performance? I mean, actors get up and sometimes like a 2-show day.
Yeah.
Like, what were Wednesdays and Saturdays like for you to do this?
Well, I turned into a vampire when I was doing it. Because so energized by the end of the night, this started in London, I would go out and listen to music all night long. Yeah. I remember I would leave the Piccadilly Theatre and walk around the corner to my favorite jazz spot in London, Ronnie Scott's. I was there just the other night. It was a great time. And I would listen to music all night long, and it really bring up the sun. And then I would go to sleep. And I would sleep until about 3 or 4, right? And then I would get up and start warming up and get ready for the theater. And I would go to the theater maybe 2 hours before. So the play was the first thing of my day. And then the evening was the rest of the time. And it took a great toll. It takes this production in particular. It's very physical. It's always a physical thing, but it's you have to approach it like you approach a football game. Prepare yourself physically, prepare yourself vocally, and mentally, of course. And I would get up, have a meal, do a few things. I like to look at the script always right before the play. I just go through it. I like to take a script and turn it. I got this from John Franklin, a guy from the RSC, right? So you have this script and it's written like this. I just took your notes, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm good.
And so you have your script like that. And then he would say, look at the cities. I don't know why he said that. But then you just kind of see, he said, look at it like skyscrapers. And you literally can see when there's moments of a lull, and when there's a lot of things happening. Well, obviously there's a lull here because it's an abandoned lot, but you have 2 skyscrapers here and then a smaller building. So it's just kind of the landscape of the play. I would look at the play like a photograph, Then I also go through scenes and scenes and scenes, and then get to the theater, warm up, vocally warm up, prepare, and then I had a playlist of music that I would sit. And I think on social media, I put a photograph on, and I was backlit with a blue light where I couldn't see my face. I could just see the outline of me sitting there with Willie Loman's hat, and I couldn't see his face, but I knew he was there, and I would say hello to him, places, and then leave, and then go out onto the stage. I always wanted to just go straight from my dressing room straight onto the stage. No interruptions, but we would all greet each other quietly. Ready. Lights, the music would start, and then I would step onto the stage. And so I could lose myself in the world. And then it induces the first moment. And if you set up the entire evening correctly, it's like dominoes. Play that first moment correctly, which leads to the second moment, which leads to the third, which leads to and you knock them down. And so that's what I would do. And then after that, everybody would say, man, you're so cheery at the end. I'm like, yeah, I just fucking did that long ago.
I want to hear some music.
Excuse me, I apologize.
Yeah.
And now I'm like ready. They were like, you're so happy. So yeah, that's my preparation and day.
I got goosebumps listening to you say, coming right from your dressing room to go on stage and start your show.
Yes.
Brilliant. Your cast was sensational, including the great Sharon D. Clarke, who played your wife, Linda Lohman.
Yes.
I mean,
she transformed the role.
Yeah.
She transformed the role. Before, Linda Lohman was always this doormat of a woman.
Yeah.
Sharon and I specifically said, you bring who you are to the role. So going back to your question of the significance of us doing it, we wanted to make sure that people understood the thing that has gotten us through so much as a community is Black love.
Yeah.
And what we wanted more than anything is to show the love between Willie and Linda. So when people would question, why would this woman stay with him? Why would she allow this to happen to him? Because she loved him, and she knew the pain that he was going through, and knew that she needed to be there for him. She even tells her sons, I'll give you up for him, both of you. And she brought a strength to Linda that I think moving forward, women who play the role will have to consider in their interpretation of it. You know, I saw Romeo and Juliet just recently in London, and actually cut this part, but everybody, Tybalt recognizes Romeo at the party. You know, that's him, right? Arch rival, and he turns to Lady Capulet. She has a small role. He says, that's Romeo, right? And so when Tybalt gets killed, out of everyone in the family, she screams, oh, Tybalt, 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 Tybalt. And through the years, for centuries actually, people were saying, why? And somewhere along the line, someone decided that they were having an affair. And you normally now see productions where they go, it's Romeo. She goes, go and get him out of here.
Yeah.
And then they kiss. And they go, and the first time you see it, you go, oh, I never even thought of that. And then what happens is when he gets killed, and she goes, oh, everybody goes, I see it. And then the guy playing, Lord Capulet always looks at her like, what's that about? What's that? But, and it's that and that happens somewhere along the way, and you see it off and on. People don't always use it, but that's the same thing with Linda Lohman now. She changed the role like that. Now, productions will consider that, like she's not a doormat. I'm sorry, go on.
No, because I have seen, I wasn't born to see Lee J. Cobb, but I saw the other four gentlemen that played this. And seeing your production, it was like watching the play for the very first time of things. You know the play, but then I watched it, I was like, wait a minute, this is totally a whole new Death of a Salesman.
And a lot of people ask if we changed things.
Yeah, and you did.
I really fought with the directors to make sure that I had the affair with a white woman. And they said, oh, but Wendell, no. I said, no, she has to be a white woman. They were like, no. That's too dangerous. And I said, exactly.
Yeah.
What man would put himself in that amount of danger? Only a man who was so desperate and at the end of his rope that in 1932, a black man would have an affair with this white woman and put himself in jeopardy.
Yeah.
And then ultimately, for those of you who haven't seen the play, spoiler alert, his son, who discovers him in this affair, and this half-naked white woman says, I hope nobody sees me like this, as she's asked to leave the room.
Yeah.
And that's a very unveiled threat, because all she has to do is go out and cry.
Yeah.
and we're lynched.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, we're just in trouble, right? I mean, today is actually the memorial of Rosewood, an entire town, and hundreds of people killed because of this white woman who cried rape.
Yeah.
And so that added an element. And so in that scene, I say to her, with a knock at the door, go in the bathroom. I think there may be a law in Massachusetts about this, right? And the producer came to me and said, did you put that in? I'm like, no. She said, I've never heard that line. I said, I know, because you never saw it with a black man playing the role with a white mistress and the danger of that. And actually, they did a reading of it. And Marianne Elliott said, all of the cast, black and white, in the cast were like, oh, you can't do that. You can't do that. Not 1932. Boston? No, you can't. You can't. And so she was concerned as a white British woman, is that into? I said, everything they were saying was exactly why you should do it.
Yeah.
Because that was the danger at stake in that scene. And then people said, I never saw that scene like that before. So,
Yeah. Speaking of your director, Marianne Elliott, of course, directed you in London.
Yes.
In the show, and along with Miranda Cromwell, two brilliant directors. I mean, you've worked with so many incredible directors. What did you enjoy the most about working with those two ladies?
I enjoyed the fact that the symbiotic nature of their work.
Yeah.
They have been associates for years, and I was wondering how it was going to work with two different directors, and they would split scenes, right? I'd take this one, I'd take this one, but they would always be together. Maybe we work apart on scenes sometimes, and even they would never let both directors touched every scene, right? So even though you may have worked individually with them, they would always come back and work with you at some point, of course. And when they gave notes, they were always together and then say, all right, I'll give the notes on this scene, I'll give the notes on this scene, and back and forth. So you really got the input of both, a sensitivity from both of them, right? The language, the movement language of what we were doing is something that Miranda does. The psychological journey and the nuance is something that Marianne worked on. So it was really great in that way. And it made me think of the best advice I got from an acting teacher was when I was really confused. Every actor, as they prepare and train, the teacher gives you a brick. Every teacher gives you a brick. And consider it, how big it is, how heavy it is, how it fits. And if it works for you, you use it. And if it doesn't, you can set it aside. Choose the bricks to build your house with. But every teacher will give you a brick, and then you decide which bricks you're going to build your house with. Not that I didn't take notes from this director or that, but I considered everything that they did, and it helped to build my house.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
Because you listen to people who say, I have an acting teacher, I liked A, B, and C, but I didn't like F, G, and H or whatever.
Yeah.
They give you these things, and you either put them aside or you build your house.
Or you build your house with it, yes. Yeah.
Beautiful analogy on that. Because of your success on film and TV, you brought a whole new audience to the theater who had never seen a play, and you introduced them to this amazing live art form, which all happened to us. What did that mean to you, bring a whole new audience to the theater?
That meant, that's why we do it. That's why we turn the lights out and gather in the theater like this, so that we can reflect on... I'm laughing because Erica has heard this before. Yeah. We reflect on who we are, what thoughts are to the individual. Art is to the community as a whole, the place where we reflect on who we are, where we've been, where we hope to go. Consider what our values are, and then leave here and act on those values. As we toss and turn at night alone, it is in the form of theater and film and television, art itself, where we do that collectively. And that's really my mantra. And to do that with someone is very special. It's a real gift. And to have that cathartic moment with people who have never been to the theater. When people came and said, oh, man, I've never seen Death of a Salesman. You go, wow, that's great. I will always be their first Death of a Salesman. And that is that's a gift to me, right? something happened in London, and I regret that I didn't stay in touch with this patron of the act. This woman, I came to the stage where I was leaving, and she was just in tears.
Yeah.
She was just in tears. German woman in London. She said, "Excuse me." She said, "I just lost my father. If you don't mind." I said, "No." She just beckoned me, just put her arms around me. "Thank you," and walked away. And I could just feel this woman saying, after seeing the play, "Oh, if I could just hold my father again." And for that moment, I was able to reconnect her with her father. And I thought about that in preparation as I came to Broadway. And the one thing that I went a little further with was the literal communion of spirit with my mother that happened every night. At a particular moment, two particular moments. One, my mother, on her deathbed, called me and said, "Wendell, I'm dying. Stay close to your brother. Right? That's the only brother you have left. Stay close to your brother." There was a moment in the play where Sharon would turn to Happy and said, "You're both good boys. Both of you, you're both good boys." And I was behind her, and I could just hear my mother. Like, that's all I heard was my mother's voice. In that moment, I lost my mother 12 years ago, and I waited for that moment every night. And then the scariest moment, not the scariest, profound. There's a moment where I could not see anything, but just this one single light on me. And it's the moment of his death. And death is a very, very solo thing. And I thought, there will be this moment of death. There will be a moment of death. And that 1,000 people were gone. Everyone was gone. It was just me and the dying of the light. And as profoundly fearful as that may be, it's a profound moment in the journey of life. And I forgot what the question was, but that happened every night. And that woman, the German woman in London, reminded me of that. And I brought that to Broadway.
Yeah. There's nothing like live theater. There's nothing, the connection that an audience has. And like you said, every night is a different audience that you had. Mm-hmm. And they go on a total different journey with you.
And it will only be ours.
Yeah, it's only yours, yeah.
And you'll be able to take that with you forever.
Yeah. Growing up, where did your love for theater begin? And what were your earliest creative outlets?
My love for theater began when I was in the 5th grade. I told my mother I didn't want to go to summer camp anymore. And she said, "Well, you don't have to, but you got to get a job. And nobody's going to hire a little 11-year-old. Right? So you better find something." And I found this theater camp at the University of New Orleans, a theater and film camp. And it was a husband and wife graduate team. And it's great. My one regret is I made little films, cut them together. I don't know where those films are, right? Regret it. But then I went back to 6th grade, and she called me, and she said, the wife of the husband and wife team, and she said, "I'm doing my thesis play. It's a children's play, and would you do it?" And she put me in the lead. She stole the title, Midsummer's Night Magic. I was just like, you just changed one word, you know? And it was a little boy, Jeremy, who got lost in the woods. And they were and it was Wilhelmina Weasel and Mr. Fox and Mortimer Moose. And they were like, "There's a boy in the forest, a lost boy." And I was like, "Hello, hello." There he is, he's a human. Oh my God. And there was a troll that was messing up in their midsummer festival. And And I figured it out that the troll just never been invited, and he would not mess it up if you guys would ever invite him. And I solved everything, and then I heard, Jeremy, Jeremy. And there was a moment where it's like, oh, we have to leave. I have to go back to the human world. And they're like, oh, thank you, Jeremy. And I walked, had little voms like this, man. Yeah. Bye, Mr. Weasley. Bye. Man. And when I got into the voms and people were going, oh, I was like, ooh, shit, I like this. And that was my first little bug. And then, I was always big and fast. So I started playing football. Yeah, in junior high and high school. And I was Ben Franklin High School. I was going on the football team. And they came recruiting for the New Orleans Center for Creative Arts, which is one of the best performing arts high school in the country. And I went there, and I had the best of both worlds, NOCA, as it's called, and Ben Franklin, which we were like a college prep school, one of the great academic schools in the country. It was like Stuyvesant here, or Brooklyn Tech or Bronx Science. My school, Ben Franklin. So it was like going to Stuyvesant and LaGuardia, at the same time, the performing arts school here in New York. And so then that's when I really started seriously training for 3 years, from sophomore year to senior year in high school. And we didn't do any plays. We worked on scripts, we worked on our voice, we worked on movement, we worked up to scenes. And then we had to go out into the community and audition for plays. And it's community theater. And I was inspired by the Free Southern Theater of New Orleans. Free Southern Theater was in the civil rights movement, where they went out during civil rights marches and did plays that really spoke to the advocacy of the time in America, under the threat of violence. I remember one time they were doing a play, and the Klan told them, if you come and do this play, you ain't gonna make it. And I forget what play it was, but the lore was they did the play, and the Klan was waiting for them, right? And everybody applauded, waiting for the curtain call, and they got in the car and just got out. They didn't come back for the curtain call. So that's one of the legends of Free Southern Theater, but I was inspired by them. I never saw them in person because I was too young, and my parents would go and see them, and I would wait until my parents would come home, and like sitting around the campsite, a campfire, they would tell the story of the play. Yeah. And then I worked with those people who had broken up from the group. And one of my teachers was a man named Chikula Chajua in New Orleans. We got to celebrate him a couple of weeks ago. And then that was my inspiration. And then I came to New York after NOCA. But I had all these great musicians, I went Wynton Marsalis and Branford Marsalis, Harry Connick Jr., all of those guys were in school together. It was great.
That's great, yeah. Well, you were a Julliard graduate. Is it Group 14?
Group 14, yes. Which is now Group 55, so just let you know how long I've been out of school.
What did you take away from Julliard? Who was in your class? What did you learn from all of that?
I guess two folks that people will know Julliard, Thomas Gibson, who was in Dharma and Greg, and Chicago Hope and Chicago Everything, and Criminal Minds, I think. And Brad Whitford, who's the kindest guy in the world, always plays the nastiest people in the world now. So he was a father in Get Out, and so he's a maligned guy, and The Handmaid's Tale. Yeah, he's awful in that too. But he's a really good actor because he is the nicest guy in the world. My entire class came to see me in London and on Broadway. And so I said, it just shows you that these 18 people that I was in class with, still close to this day. And Julliard was tough. Julliard was a really great training. There's nothing that has happened in the business, this 37 years I've been in the business, that could ever bring me as much anxiety and fear as any of the training that I had at Julliard. So it really prepared me for the business in that way. Yeah. Because there were times I thought, the one thing I knew when I was graduating from Julliard was I wasn't an actor. I felt so broken down. Training, theater teachers know this. You know, when training, it's a very, very delicate thing. You have people's internal psychological lives in your hands, and you have to be very careful with that. Some people can damage you, but I was just very insecure because of all the stuff that I'm trying to, all the bricks that were given to me. They think of them as they were a load on my shoulders. I hadn't picked which ones to toss away yet, so it was just this load on my shoulders. Some people just are very good at it. Just Michael Beach. My boys at Julliard was Michael Beach, Eric LaSalle, Ving Rhames. Wow. And those cats, they were just like, they were able to manage it, even when the school came back at them. But it was, the school has evolved away from that sort of authoritative way of working. It's the British system that it was, RADA is kind of like that in the sort of British schools like that. So now you can just appreciate it. I would always say Julliard was so great. It taught me the detail that you need to work on everything, the detail, the work ethic. NOCA had done that for me as well, New Orleans Center for Creative Arts. And so it really prepared me. And I said Julliard was great until 5 o'clock because you never got to audition for the role. They just put you into the role that they thought you should do in your company. And a lot of times I was there very young, 17 to 21, and I hadn't played anyone that wasn't 30 years my elder. So when I got out, I was always talking like this and walking like, hello, Richard, hello, Governor, how you doing? Oh, little water here, you don't mind, do you? And so I would go for auditions for Law and Order. I said, it came at 2 o'clock. I know William Greaves, a great director, William Greaves. Take notes on this. William Greaves was a great African-American filmmaker, did avant-garde films and all. And I almost did a film with Helen Martin, who was the grandmother
Loved
on
Helen Martin.
227. She was a great actress going way back. And I was so close. It was between me and another guy. He got it. And William Greaves was just like, Wendell, you're good. It's just, what are you doing? What is that? I was like, what are you talking about? What, William? Grandmother, where are you? And so we had this little reputation. That's where the little reputation with Julliard, they're all messed up and, all technical and stuff. It's not true. It's just young people just trying to work through their thing. And I had a teacher, great teacher, Tim Monick, who does a lot of the voice work in film. And Tim told me, Wendell, I'm not trying to take away who you are. I'm trying to give you tools so that you can do every and anything with your voice and with dialect, and you can go back to the way you spoke when you came here from New Orleans. I just want to give you a facility to do everything else. I said, oh, thank you, Tim.
We have a lot of actors in the house and watching auditioning. It's a very strange thing because it's a part of this business. This is what you have to do. Yes. But you never know when you open that door. The anxiety sets in and people, what's behind the door? So were you always good at auditioning with your British accent, Governor?
Yes, yeah. I was, the thing about auditions that I learned early on was it's a great opportunity to share your work with another artist. That's all it is. Yeah. I don't know why we feel as though we're begging for a job and employment. If I'm going to IBM and I'm showing them that this is the PowerPoint of how I would do this consultation on this project you're doing, I'm gonna put it on the screen, I'll explain it to everybody there, I'll do it, and hopefully you hire my company because we're the best consultants for this project, and then walk out. Actors always feel it's like, man, I'm going in there, I gotta kiss ass, and I have to do all. I had a good friend, I cannot mention his name. And we had an audition together, man. And then he came out, he looked at me, and said, that's how you do it, huh? You were in there just groveling, and I'm like, no, I wasn't. What is that about? I said, yeah, man, I'll never do that, You'll never have me do it. And he would never work, because he was just like, man, you're not gonna make me belittle myself and read these lines. And, he was just, it was always antagonistic.
Yeah.
And I kept telling them the key to my success in auditioning it's my opening and closing night.
Yeah.
I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do with this role. And I know you're gonna have a whole bunch of people coming, but this is my night. This is my opening night. This is my audition. The operative word is my audition, right? So I'm gonna actually get to play this role for right now. And maybe I might get the job and I get to do it again in rehearsal, right? But it's my opening and closing night. And it actually, don't think of it as just an audition. Think of it, I got to play this role for the 2 days I prepared or the week I prepared. And then I had one performance at 4:30 and 15:15 Broadway. And when you think of it like that, the opportunity becomes great. One of the highlights of my career is an audition. I went in for the big deal, or big deal, not the big deal, with Bob Fosse, right?
Yeah.
And I had the audition. I was real young, and they had already started rehearsal, and I was going in for the understudy. And it was a role where it was a boxer who says, and he turns against the gangsters who want to get him to throw the fight. He goes, no, I'm going to take my life back. Richard, you do this. Jim, you do that. This is my life. I'm going to do it my way, right? That was the whole scene, right? Or something like that. And so I was waiting. My audition was the break in rehearsal. And I'd gotten this out of an audition book. And I thought, okay, I'm going to do this. They break for rehearsal, and I go in the room. I say, stop it. Everybody. All right, this is the way it's going to go. Richard, you're going to do this. Bob, you're going to do that. I'm taking my life back, and that's it. Everybody's like, right? And the stage manager says, everybody go, take your break. Take your break, right? And I said, and Bob Fosse was sitting at the table and said, all right, dude, start it again. I said, this is the way it's gonna go. Do the whole scene. Then he goes, and the stage manager's trying to find the page, right? Okay, no, wait, start again. Bob Fosse says, give me an F vamp. Boom, 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 boom. I said, all right, this is the way it's gonna go. Richard, you do this. Bob, you're gonna do this. I'm taking my life back, and that's the way it's gonna go. And the stage manager's like, yes. And so he says, stop. Give me the F vamp. Boom, boom. Give me the script. And Bob Fosse got up. Boom, boom. He said, go. I said, all right, this is where it's gonna go. Richard, you're gonna do this. Bob, you're gonna do this. I'm taking my life back. And Bob Fosse was right on it. Who are you? You're not gonna go against us. I'm like, what are you doing? He came up to me and walked around me. I said, you better watch who you are. I'm not scared of you. I'm not scared anymore. I did the whole scene. I'm not scared. I'm ready to go. I know. You can take my life. Let me tell you something. You don't say that to me. And I said, I'll say it to you anytime I get a chance. We had this real intense scene. Then he came up to me. That was the end of the scene. Boom, boom. Music's still playing. And he goes, you're good. You're good. He said, we got to find something for Wendell. He said, the only problem is you're too young. You're too young. My agent calls me, this is before cell phones and all that stuff. My agent calls me and says, what did you do today? Said, Bob Fosse called and said, we're not going to hire Wendell. We're not going to hire him because he's too young. But I promise you, I'm going to work with Wendell this year. I want to work with him. And I'm like, great. So I go to DC. I'm doing a play in DC. I'm on the road. I'm coming out of the bathroom. I see the television happens to be on in my hotel room, a picture of Bob Fosse. And it's down. I turn the volume up. They said, Bob Fosse died today.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how I felt. And I said, man, I was going to work with Bob Fosse. This year, I was supposed to work with Bob Fosse. And then I realized I did work with Bob Fosse. I did. And that's when I learned auditions are your opening and closing night. And also, you may get a job years from now. ACT, I worked there in San Francisco for 3 years. Carrie Perloff, I auditioned for her for 6 years, right? And I said, Carrie, I just want to ask you, you never hired me, and now all of a sudden, she said, Wendell, every time you came in, I wanted to hire you. There was always some element that didn't work out. Chemistry, whatever, you weren't available, I wasn't ready. It just came. Every time, and I knew it, every time you came, you gave your all in the work, and it was beautiful. So that's the most important thing about auditions. Show someone your work. Yeah. It may get you a job years later, but you're sharing your work with another colleague. And auditions are your opening and closing night.
I have heard a lot from actors. That is my favorite.
Oh.
I think that's really great. You know, Broadway debuts are very special. They only happen once. Did you make yours in The Boys of Winter?
No.
No, go ahead.
Yes.
But
yes, The Boys of Winter.
Right?
Boys of Winter. But little known. Boys of Winter, yes.
Yeah.
Boys of Winter. Yeah. Radio voice in Vietnam. But then right after that, a little known fact, a little theater trivia, I replaced Charles Dutton in the piano lesson.
Yep.
For about 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. The last month of the play.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was trying to convince the producers, they would need another name, And I was like, you have a name, August Wilson.
Yeah.
The play's the thing. The play is the thing. But, no, they wanted a bigger celebrity name. And
go ahead. It stays here.
Yeah, no, it stays here on the internet.
Oh, totally.
But I don't think I don't think he turned it down. It just didn't work out or whatever. But it is how I met Forest Whitaker, because Forrest, he would have been great. Forest Whitaker was going to take over piano lesson on Broadway. Oh, he's gonna kill me.
No.
And I had lunch with him, and that another great moment in my career. I went through the play, the piano lesson, with Forest Whitaker, scene by scene, talking about it. Boy Willie,
yeah.
What is that about? Why does he do that? What created that? What is their relationship? God, man, and I think about that all the time. At B. Smith, me and Forest Whitaker going through piano lesson, talking about Boy Willie, because he was preparing to do it. And then it didn't work out. And I was the understudy, so in the interim, I was doing the play on Broadway until they could get someone. And when they didn't get Forrest, they decided to close the play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, because I couldn't tell, because I said, did he make his debut in the piano lesson, or did he make it in Boys of Winter? I loved Boys of Winter.
Boys of Winter was great. Boys of Winter was the first, it was around that time, John Peel-meyer, who did Children of Lesser God.
Yeah.
Yes? And this play was about Vietnam.
Yeah.
Vietnam, so people sit down, they know it's Vietnam. But we sat down, and the lights go down. And then from every door in the theater, and we just terrified people from day one. It was just like M60 over here and M15s and people repelling and it terrified people. There were so many people we lost in the first 5 minutes of that play because they were just like, we need to call an ambulance. There's a man having a heart attack over here. It was, we terrified people in the first second of the play. And they lost a couple of audience members.
Cast you got to play with.
It was Matt Dillon and Andrew McCarthy and D.B. Moffat and Ving Rhames and Wesley Snipes and Thomas Akita, directed by Michael Lindsay Hogg. Yeah. It was great, man. It was a great experience. And Rob Morrow was in that cast with me. We were
everybody was
understudies in that and went on, and so it was great.
Yeah. You have an incredible, vast career, appearing in over 30 films and nearly 50 television shows.
Yeah.
So I'd like to mention some of the highlights and just tell me what comes to mind.
Oh, yes, and I'll be shorter with my answers.
No. I love this. Is what you have taught people. These are master classes of just auditioning and everything else. Just really brilliant. The HBO drama The Wire. The Wire fans?
Yes.
Where you play Detective Bunk Moreland.
Mm.
You didn't think The Wire would be a big hit, did you?
No, I saw. We saw. It was me, Andre Royo, and Sonia Son. We watched 2 episodes. We better save our money because this shit is going to be canceled. That's the first thing I thought. But it was different because, well, it was different. It broke ground.
Yeah.
And it was the first time that David told us, he said, trust me, I'm writing a visual novel. It's not like other TV shows where the crime happens in the first, quarter. Yeah. Then they catch the guy, then there's the trial, and everything's wrapped up in an hour. I'm not doing that. He said, this is a visual novel, just like a good book. Yeah. You might be in the first chapter, not in the third chapter. Trust me, all the pieces fit, all the pieces matter, which was the mantra of the Wire. And it was true. It was true. And and it changed my life. It changed my life and career. It taught me a great lesson. And right before I got the Wire, another mantra of mine is employment doesn't define you as an actor. Yeah. We understand that when we're unemployed, right? We have to keep our spirits up and understand that even though I'm not working, it doesn't mean my work isn't good. But you also have to do that when you are employed, when you're making nice money. But you have to look at that mirror, in the mirror, and to thine own self be true. Like, man, this is some bull, right? This is awful, because when you're making money, everybody's like, this is great. Oh, trust me. Oh, yes, this is beautiful. Writing is great. And at the time, I would do sitcoms that lasted about 6 episodes and they get canceled. 6 episodes get canceled. And, every time, my quote was going up, and everybody was happy. And I got on one and I said, when this one gets canceled, don't say that, it's not gonna get canceled. I said, no, this is some bullshit, it will be canceled. I told my agents, I said, no more. Not right now, not for a while. Oh, but this is gonna be great. I'm like, no, because I'm getting into bad habits. No, but hey, man, your quotes are going up. And I said, yeah, business is good, but my work is awful. So I'm getting bad habits, and people are not seeing me outside of this stereotype of these bad roles on sitcoms. So the show got canceled, and I said, from here on out, just dramas and theater. Just dramas and theater, some films. And the next audition was The Wire. And it was the best decision I made. There's the work, and then there's the business, and you have to protect your work. And I tell my business folks, you take care of the business, and I will let you know when I need something as an artist. I want you to think about the business. You tell me what you think I need as a businessman, because we're business partners. And I'll consider that. And I do jobs for business. There's jobs I do for business. I'm like, this is going to be a good business move. It's not going to serve anything for me and my work, but this is a good business move. That's what I learned with The Wire.
Yeah.
To thine own self be true. Employment doesn't define you as an actor. And when I put that, I said, from here on out, no more sitcoms for a while. And then the next thing I got was The Wire. And it changed my life.
That's amazing that you made that choice. Some people do that. I mean, it's a scary thing to do.
Yeah. And you can go back. It wasn't like I was going to turn off the faucet for sitcoms, It's just like, for a while, I'm just going to take a little break.
Okay, the hit HBO series, Treme. Treme fans?
Just a few. Not a, people like, I never heard of that shit.
Where you played trombone player Antoine Baptiste.
Yes.
Okay, this was a project that was very close to your heart, wasn't it?
Absolutely. First, it was by David Simon.
Yeah.
He came to me on the set of The Wire and said, Wendell, my next project, I'm going to do a project about New Orleans. And I was like, I'm from New Orleans. I'm like, man, you better put me in it. I better be in it. And then he said, I wrote a scene. Tell me what you think of it. And he gave me the scene, and the character was named Wendell. Aww. And that's how he told me that he was writing the role of Antoine for me. And I was like, David, that's really nice. Oh, that was great. I mean, to have a writer say they're going to write something for you. If The Wire was a visual novel, Treme was a visual poem. non-linear, different. And it was about New Orleans post-Katrina.
Yeah.
And how we came back and the importance of culture and the resilience of my community. And how we built it back one shrimp etouffee at a time, one jazz solo at a time, how important culture is to our community and to society as a whole. But more importantly than that, it was the last 3 years with my mother, right? I got to spend with my mother. So this is a document. And I also wanted to do something at the time, rebuilding New Orleans civically in my community and artistically rebuilding New Orleans at the same time. So I knew 20 years afterwards, people would say when New Orleans was going through its darkest hours, Mr. Pierce, what did you do? I'll be able to take out Treme and say, watch this.
Yeah. Beautiful. You started out in the theater. I love to ask actors to start on stage. Did you grasp the art of TV and film right away? Do you remember like the first thing you were booked on?
Oh, the Equalizer, the first Equalizer. No, my first film job was The Money Pit.
Oh.
The Money Pit, The Money Pit, yeah. Richard Benjamin gave me such a hard time in that film.
Did he?
It was an extreme close-up, and they said, just look up. And I was looking up, not like that. Just look up. When he says that, just look up. Oh, no, that's too much. I'm like, and, now I would know, let me see the monitor, and say, oh, you literally are so close that all I have to do is that, I was doing that, and I was already, like that, So, The Money Pit. And then, I want to attribute this to Pamela Reed. Pamela Reed? Remember our contemporaries, we were around the same time. She was working, she said something, and this is where I got it from. She said, when I was trying to understand the difference between theater and film, if theater is this floodlight, film is the same amount of light, just condensed down to a laser. It's not less than, it's the same amount, but just focused like a laser. And that helped me totally understand, because I started, as I tried to adjust from theater to film, I would go to film and do nothing. And they were like, we know you're Mike, but bro, you're doing nothing. I'd be like, you really hurt my feelings. They're like, what? A lot of young actors, I see that now, I'm gonna be cool. I'm gonna try to look cool and just like this. So as I made that adjustment, I'm not gonna tell. I was gonna tell a story. I'm gonna tell her. It's too.
Just stays here.
No. He's gonna kill me. He's about to have a big breakout. Ooh. I'm not gonna say it.
It's all good.
It's all good.
You also enjoyed an incredible run playing attorney Robert Zane on the hit TV series Suits.
Yes.
Favorite memories of working on that? I love that show.
The Suits, first of all, yeah. Had a great tailor, and and it was great television. The thing that I loved about Suits, we had a running joke that we were just the fastest readers in the world. They would come in and say, here's a brief. You're like, let me see that. Yeah. Oh, there's no way we're gonna do that. It's just like, we were just always walking into each other's office. We were never working. It was just like this. Yeah. Yes, you say, I heard Richard didn't like this case, and then you walk in. What do you mean I don't like it? Now you're gonna look at it differently. And then we never tried cases, right? We never were in the courtroom. We were just always clean, walking into offices and coming out in suits and just looking right. And so, but we would go every once in a while into the office. And because of that, we as actors were always blowing it in the courtroom scenes. We'd be like, oh, wait, how does this work? We were... members of the jury. Yes, members of the jury. So it was. It was funny, man. We were the worst in those courtroom scenes. Oh man, could not remember lines and stuff. We was like, I gotta say all of this in a summary. Oh my God. But it was fun. And then, I mean, you know, everybody's gonna ask about the Duchess of Sussex. She played my daughter.
Yeah.
And I knew that she was about to go into a whirlwind of a life. And I was able to say to her the last day we were shooting, and I said, Meghan, you were about to go into this bubble and you're going to be known around the world and everything. I said, no matter what, just remember that you have friends. We may not see each other, but just know, you know, we love you. We got your back, you know. Thank you for being my friend, and I'm your friend. Just remember, you have friends.
Yeah.
So, Meghan, you have friends.
That's beautiful. You know, when I was putting these questions together, I was like, we'd be here for a month if I went through.
I know, especially the way Wendell was.
No, but no. But I mean, you work with so many incredible actors. You work with some of the greatest film directors. What did you learn from Taylor Hackford on his film Ray, where you played Wilbur Brassfield?
Oh, Taylor is a passionate director. That's hey, who put these papers here? Move the papers. Get the lights. He's one of those directors. Yeah. And then Taylor always picks one actor. He always picks one actor. He's like, Richard, what are you doing? Hey, come on, you know? It's like Wendell messed up the scene, you know?
It wasn't me.
Yeah, it was me. And Bokeem Woodbine was that on there. And we would fall. We were on the bus. It was like me, Jamie Foxx, Bokeem, Thomas Bird. And you would have the radio, and we're on the bus doing the scene, and they're doing a follow in the car. And you're doing the scene or whatever, and, you know, we're trying to make sure we're hitting our marks. They had a camera on the hood, you know, not stacked, make sure everybody's seeing or whatever. And it was like a running joke. They'd say, cut, God damn it, Bokeem. And he'd come in. And we had a blast. We were like, man, that happened. Like every time he said cut, Bokeem was like, Wendell was the one, he dropped the line. Yeah, he dropped the line, but make sure you just lean a little bit more so you're afraid. You know? Oh man, that was fun. So Taylor Hackford is passionate like that, but Taylor, he has the arc of the movie already there, man. And so with Ray, if you watch that movie again, the syncopation between the song choice and what's happening in the journey of the life of the man and the song that he produced in the journey of the man is married so well together. He's great. And I love working with Taylor. I've worked on several films with him. It's great. That's Taylor Hackford. Very passionate, and but has a clear vision of putting it together.
Yeah.
It's great.
Spike Lee on Malcolm X, where you played Ben Thomas.
Man, Spike is great. So when I moved to New York, I was living in Fort Greene, and Fort Greene was like the black arts mecca.
Yeah.
In the 80s and all. I remember Spike when, you know, we were handing out T-shirts. Everybody in the neighborhood trying to help him out with She's Gotta Have It. You know? And with Malcolm X, it was a massive movie. It was very special. Denzel did one of the greatest performances in the history of cinema. And we were witnessing it. I was able to witness that. And the community of actors who knew what we were creating, no matter how small your role, you wanted to be effective. And that was infectious. And Spike had a broad scope of what it would look like on the large screen. It's just one of those major Hollywood movies that he knew the power of cinema and the impact that would have for decades to come. We all knew where that film was going to be, because you would come back and see some playback and it's like, man, this is going to be massive. Everybody was at the top of their game, you know, and it was great. I'm a journeyman actor.
Yeah.
I know my representation, they hate when I say that. I say it with great pride.
Yes.
Because I've played a multitude of all of these different characters in all of these different films and theaters, and it's the culmination of a career, building a body of work. And when you have those tent poles of like, you can hang your hat on, oh, right there in that moment. What was happening was just, at the moment of making Malcolm X, it was just fantastic just to watch it all come together. And I was one of the assassins.
Yeah.
And we had a group of guys who were the bodyguards of Malcolm X. And we played a game on the set, just between takes. Like, if any of us could get to Denzel and touch him, right? You blew it,
yeah.
right? And man, those guys were good. They would not let us. I mean, people were coming on. It just Denzel's going in to do hair and makeup and stuff, and like everybody's like, "Ooh, I'm gonna get him there." And I'm like, and all of a sudden, Thomas Paine, he was one of the guys, and we played this whole thing when we did scenes together. That was great. It was, but you knew you were in something, a cinematic masterpiece. And watching some of the masterful performances. Delroy Lindo was great in that. Angela Bassett was so great in that. You saw Giancarlo Esposito was so wonderful in that. Just Peter Boyle was so wonderful in that. And he was like, one man shouldn't have so much power, That one scene. I stole something from that movie, a little known fact. No, not personally, not a prop or anything. Here's Spike Lee's phone.
Denzel's phone.
Yeah, Denzel's phone. I touched it. But the famous, when he says, all right, he does that and they all leave. I did that in Death of a Salesman. I'm touching it like, right before I died, when I go off to die, yeah. So thank you, Denzel. Yeah.
Fabulous. Working with your friend Forrest Whitaker on Waiting to Exhale.
Forrest is an actor's director.
Yeah.
An actor's director. And he said, Wendell, just have a blast in this scene. I want you to have a blast in this scene. And, it's this really funny comedic scene. And then he said, now, really, just be loving, just as loving as possible at the end of the scene, So we shot over 2 nights, but most of the time the sex scene I was like bouncing on a mattress, not on Layla Rashawn, But we had a great time. It was beautiful, and Forrest was an actor's director. He got performances out of everyone. Yeah. It was really great. I really look at that film, man. Angela Bassett and Wesley Snipes. That was like, I was waiting for someone to do something with them, man. That was such a beautiful, their coupling was so great. A dear friend, I worked with him, a show that I wasn't embarrassed by, which was Gregory Hines. Gregory Hines was so talented, such a talented man. He was great in that. And I'll never forget Whitney Houston. Yeah. Whitney Houston was so nervous. She was just like, you guys are all these actors. We read through and we're like, man, this is Whitney Houston. She's like, you guys are so great. Said, and she's like, and she asked, she said, what do you think? What do you think I should do? I said, you Whitney Houston, you have it all already, And whenever she got nervous, she would sing. And that would just center her. She would just sing. And she was great in that film. So that was the beautiful memory of that. Actors, director, Whitney, those pairings of people get, and it was really, really wonderful. Really, and one of those films that opened up people to the idea of the power of this, another really wonderful repertory company of actors I was proud to be a part of.
Yeah. You've done so many big movies, but you also do a lot of independent films. How important are independent films to you, like 4? Burning Cane, you know.
Clemency.
And then you serve as a producer on which one for
Burning Cane.
Burning Cane?
Yes.
Yeah. Talk about the importance of independent films.
All of my major roles are in the independent films.
Yeah.
I always do student films. So I can challenge myself, fall on my face, meet the new directors of the future. I did the student film of Pariah with Dee Reese when she was getting out of NYU. With Burning Cane, I got a call and they said, listen, Wendell, Philip is doing, he's a student here, and he's doing his thesis film. Would you do it? And I called Philip. I said, yeah, Philip, I'll do your film. There's this weekend. I'm like, yeah, I can come down. I'll make sure I'm home. Yes, I do it. And, I said, send the script. And he sent the script. And I said, hey, I called him back. I said, well, you made a mistake. This is a feature. Where's the little 10-minute student film I thought we were doing? He said, no, it's a feature. And I was like, what? I shot most of it. Your stuff we can do in a weekend. I was like, you can't do this in a weekend. And I got no sleep. It was almost 48 hours straight of working. And 17 years old, we do this film, and it wins Tribeca, and I won Tribeca for Best Actor. Yeah. Went to the Venice Film Festival. I was nominated for an Independent Spirit Award. So you never know where the opportunities can come from. And it's the same thing with Clemency. This young woman, Chinyoya Chukwuwu, had a script, looked at it, would you give me 2 or 3 days on this? I'm like, absolutely, it was a great script. I'm the husband of Alfre Woodard. She gave a phenomenal performance in it. It turned out wonderful, and it won Sundance. And so in 2019, Clemency wins Sundance. Yeah. Burning Cane wins the Tribeca Festival. One goes to Venice, the other one goes to Berlin. They both come to the London Film Festival. Well, I'm able to go and see 2 of my films while I'm doing Death of a Salesman in the West End. And I said, it's because I said I would do that student film. I have them lined up. Also, as you prepare for opportunities to come. Like there's a film right now, I know, Cole Wiley, if we ever get the chance to do it, if he ever gets the money, it's there. There's a film that I'm preparing with Letitia Wright, who's Black Panther, an independent film that she wants to get done. It's a great script by Richard Leeds, a great story about espionage in Paris, 1940s, that is based on the life of Richard Wright, who wrote Native Son. Yeah. To do that, there is the Walter Mosley novels about Leonid McGill. I'm trying to develop. Mr. Mosley called me and said, would you be interested? I'm like, absolutely. Great writer. If you don't know him, you better ask somebody, as they say. If you don't know, now you know. I'm not going to complete that. But Leonid McGill, a character I'm looking forward to developing. And you find those in student films and independent films. You find your way. And a lot of those have defined my character. And 4, I saw as a play off Broadway. And I think, the director was at NYU also and said, I got the money for the film and I want to do it. And I did the film. And then that was another Independent Spirit Award nomination. And I won Best Actor in the LA Film Festival because of that. So my film work in independent films really defined my film resume more than any of the other films, or the larger tent poles, But I've been in those big ones too. I love that. And so I like the diversity of my career. Yeah. That's why I live in multitudes of places, New York and LA and New Orleans. I went to LA to do more TV and film so I could get better parts in the theater here. you know. And when I come and do theater, folks in LA are like, man, what are you doing? You out of work? You know? I'm like, no, I'm doing theater, you know. What's that? No, I'm not gonna say that about my friends. And then now I regret the fact that I didn't start to go to London sooner. I hope to do a film and do a play in London again.
It's a whole new chapter of your life.
Whole new chapter, yes.
Your life and career.
Yes.
You're currently star alongside John Krasinski in Amazon's international hit series, Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan. Is this the final season?
This is the final season, yes.
Yeah.
June 30th,
Yeah.
next Friday. A true world premiere. We open at the same minute in 200 markets around the world. It becomes available. And that is the way we've done it for the past 3 years. And this is the fourth and final season. But, you know, with a groundswell of support and fans, you never know.
What are you enjoying the most about playing CIA Officer James Greer and working with John Krasinski?
First of all, John is great fun. And John is also, he's an auteur. You found that out with The Quiet Place. He has his hand, he's producer on it. He is, and he helps with direction. He writes a lot of it. And of course stars in it. And I love that about him. The true auteur in television too. The other thing is the travel. I have lived the past 2 years in Budapest. And we have worked over the course of the show in Colombia and London and Paris, Budapest, Vienna, Athens. We've shot at Montreal. We've shot in Washington, D.C. and New York, too. All over. Slovakia.
Yeah.
Absolutely wonderful. And every place I go, I try to have like a little travelogue, have an adventure. It was great. Spent the night in the desert in the Sahara and a seaside seafood feast at midnight in Essaouira, Morocco, and the Budapest Jazz Club was my hang.
Yeah.
You know, you got to say it like one word, Budapest Jazz Club. And so I loved it, and the travel is great. The other thing was doing the research at the CIA. I have a consultant who I consider a friend. He's a friend, African-American officer. His name is Mel, or at least that's what he tells me. I don't have a last name on him. I was surprised that the CIA looked like the country. That was the biggest surprise. And we tried to reflect that in the show, which was great. I also challenged them the first day I went, 2017. I was like, you're the CIA. I said, Mel, how could you be a part of the CIA? Right? Knowing what this agency has done, you know, in our community. And he said, well, Wendell, we fight racism, right? I said, yeah. He said, we try to fight it wherever we are. I said, yes. He said, I chose to fight it inside the CIA instead of outside the CIA. I said, I wanted to be on the inside to find out and fight it. And he said, and that intrigued me. He said, now I have a question for you. He said, you're American, right? I said, yeah. He said, you still consider yourself an American? I said, yeah, I'm an American. He said, well, how you call yourself an American the way this country treated you? You're still American, right? You make the choice to hold it up to its values, right? To make it a more perfect union, right? He said, well, that's what I'm trying to do here too, to make it a more perfect union. This is America. And he said, yeah, you take all of that into consideration to make it better. He said, and I thought, that's great. And we actually use it. John was smart because he used it for himself and not me, right? He's challenged in the first season by an officer in Paris. Like, you come here, you're American, you're with the CIA, how can you do that? You know how the CIA works. He goes, yeah. He said, that's why I'm a part of the CIA. So I can have an impact to make things better, and even make it better, right? And so we stole. I was like, that's mine. But I really, and that's reflected in, you see, and I was actually Betty Gabriel, who was in Get Out, and she is now a part of the show. I was able to put her in touch with an African-American analyst, a woman that reflects her too. It was,
nice.
So it's like real people that we are in touch with within, well, they're all retired now or outside the agency, but put me in touch with. And can I say that? Let me see. No, I can't tell that story. Well, actually, I can't tell the story. Mel said, he meets with a group on a certain day in a certain place. Well, he said it was DC. He says, so whenever you're in DC, Wendell, come because all the guys would like to meet you. And I'm like, yeah. And I went down and I'm like, oh man, wait, it's that particular day of the week. And I said, I'm going to call Mel. I said, Mel, I'm here in DC. You guys meet? He said, yeah. I said, this is the day you guys meet. He says, yes. I said, tell me where it is. I want to come and meet you. He goes, we don't meet in DC. He said, but I said, that's what you told me. He goes, yeah, that's what I told you, but I'm not going to tell you where we really meet. He said, I wish you had called me the day before. I would have told you. I would have come and picked you up and brought you. So he would always tell me, yeah, we meet on this day every week in DC. Come have a drink with the guys. I'm like, I'm in DC. He said, oh, no, we don't meet in DC.
We have a little time left. You're also a producer, a brilliant producer, bringing such groundbreaking plays to Broadway, including August Wilson's Radio Golf, for which you received a Tony Award nomination for Best Play, and then winning a Tony Award for Best Play for Bruce Norris's Clybourne Park.
Yes.
What do you love the most about being a producer of a theater?
The thing I love about being a producer is it's just as creative.
Yeah.
Because you want to see that script with that director, with those designers and those actors, and putting it together is great.
Yeah.
It's great in doing that. And the excitement of doing that is just as creative, right? And there's some stuff I'm investing in now. I guess I should be a producer on it, yeah. Mm-hmm. And I'm Soul Train, actually, coming to Broadway.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
You heard it here.
You heard it here first. I'm way down the line. There's some lead producers up here. I'm way down the line, but I'm sure they don't mind the word getting out. Soul Train, next season on Broadway.
Beautiful.
I'm looking forward to that, but it's just as creative.
Yeah.
To put together the creative team and the design teams and all of that.
We're almost out of time, but there's a question from an audience member that I want to ask you. In this current climate where work is pretty much at a standstill, what advice would you give a newly working actor to continue to have hope and create inspiration within their career?
Work on your work. When you are unemployed or when everything is shut down like this, that's when you see plays, see the films you haven't seen before, read the novels you don't know about. Have you seen Nothing But a Man? I could go down the list of my favorite films. Nothing But a Man, see it. Sugarcane Alley, see it. Putney Swope, see it.
Yeah.
See The Godfather. My God, man. The Godfather is one of those films that it stops you no matter where, it stops me wherever. And I never saw The Godfather on a big screen. And they had the 50th anniversary last year when I was in Budapest. And the best thing about it was the Italian sequence when Michael was over, hiding out. The subtitles were in Hungarian, right? So I'm like, oh shit. But it taught me I didn't need the subtitles, right? You saw how much he loved Apollonia. You saw him ask for her hand in marriage from the father and the first dates and all of that. And the betrayal where she's killed. I didn't need the subtitles, It reminded me of the fuck scene in The Wire. You knew what was happening in the scene, even though that's the only word we use. Forgive the language. There's a scene in The Wire. So when you don't have the time, go to the museums.
Yeah.
Be influenced by work you haven't seen. I don't trust any actor that doesn't read. I do not trust any actor who doesn't read, And also scrape by. Today, Tix is a great way. You can go to the theater, go and see. And I would have two people say, man, I don't like going to the theater. I don't go. And I'm like, well, I like to fly, right? And some people don't like to study, right? And I don't need to study and all of that. I just want to act, right? Everybody tells me I'm funny or, I look good, or, and I just want to get into it. I'm like, yeah, but how you not going to study? I don't need it. I said, the problem is good acting makes it look natural and you think you can do it. You go, well, I'm a breathing human being, so it looks like I can do that, right? The other thing is I fly all the time, probably once a week. I like to fly. I've never taken a pilot lesson in my life. Would you get on a plane with me in the cockpit? No. So I like to fly. You like to act, but you're never going to take a class, and I'm a producer. It just took me 6 years to get these $20 million to do this film, and I'm supposed to just give you a job? Right? You've given no thought to the craft that you'd want to become, the actor that you want to be. So see it as the blessing. The real work is the downtime.
One of the questions someone asked for, when you do go into an audition, they give you a cold reading to do.
Yes.
What's the first thing you do to put it back at them? What are the first things you do when you read a role? Like, read back these 2 pages in 5 minutes.
Right. First of all, what's at stake? Okay. And if it's like, man, I'm about to lose my job, I heighten the stakes even more, right? I'm about to lose my job, and I need the money because I give myself even more stakes. Whatever's going to feed because I'm actually dying of cancer. And this is the only way that I might be able to get some care, right? Just something like that. Always go to the verbs, too. Even when you kind of don't know the script, and it's a cold reading, always go to the verbs. The action is on the verbs. I told you not to come here. Even both of them, I told you not to come here. Always go to the verbs, and try to break down what is this scene about. Where are you coming from? Where are you going? Yeah. And what is your relationship with that other person? The other thing that you have, it's your audition. Remember, I said that, right? You get these auditions, and all of a sudden, the whole monologue is the other guy, You're sitting there, you go, I told you not to come here. I remember I was driving along, and I saw them. I couldn't believe that he would do that. When did that guy pull out the gun and shoot him? And your line is, it was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, right on the street. He's like, yeah. And then his lines are, yeah, that's what I was thinking. So what we have to do is figure out where he went after that. And I'm like, yes, Captain. So I would always say, I would tell the reader, I say, hey, man, this is the way it's going to go down. I said, you're going to say, what happened? And I'm going to say all your lines. Right? Well, what happened? Yeah, I was driving down the street. They said he was driving down the street, and the next thing you know, he pulled out a gun and robbed the guy, right? And that happened around 3:30, I think so. Yeah, but then where did he go after that? That's what we have to find out, Captain. Right? And everybody say, well, wait, hold on now. I'm like, yeah, I'm not just going to come here and say it was 3:30 in the afternoon. What are we going to do now, Captain? I'll say, you get that if you want me to just look at the camera and just listen. I can do that, but I'm going to do all of this. I was like, it's my audition. And what happens is normally people don't do that. And so all of a sudden you stick out from everyone else, right?
Interesting.
Yeah, I would, if I just have 1 or 2 lines, there's a day player and somebody says, so you just tell the readers, hey, I'm just going to switch this, but you don't know that. So I just say, all right, well, I heard that somebody said, you said, then you said, you come up with a reason. Guy, I'll never forget that. And the other thing is, now that we're doing this Zoom over the line, move the camera. Shoot a film, right? You get your whoever's doing it. Don't just put it on the circle light on the stand, right? Say, let's shoot something. Let's shoot it. I'm gonna come in. It's gonna be a tracking shot. I say the line, then I pick up the glasses. I don't care what you're saying. Oh shit, what is that? Turn it around. We hit the exit sign. Then you come back to me, and then I'll throw that line to you like that. And then move it around, because then they'll say, oh. Wow, this is different. It's going to be different because everybody else is going to be like, hi, I'm Wendell Pierce. I'm 5'9", and here's the role.
Yeah.
So yeah, what are we gonna do now? Yes, so and then all of a sudden you see mine, and it's like, hey, what are we gonna do now? I don't know. Look over there. Oh, camera shot. Oh man, I don't know. So try to make it different, make it distinct. Now, you die on the sword. You fall on the sword if it doesn't work, right? Because you did something different. I did an audition for a Langston Hughes musical, Stagger Lee, with the great Luther Henderson.
Love Luther, yeah.
Right? And I had a roommate who was a jazz bass player, Peter Washington. So everybody, you come and give your sheet music, I got plenty of nothing, and nothing's plenty for me, and you sing your song, right? And I said, but Peter and I would always jam at the apartment at home. And I said, let's do Duke Ellington Come Sunday. And it was just, and Peter came in. I said, man, let's walk on it. And I said, ooh. Whatever the song is. My honey sugar of mine. Oh, she's a pretty potato. And I would sing the song. I did it with groove, and I was like, nobody's gonna do this. Everybody's gonna be handing their sheet music to somebody. And that's it. Come Sunday, oh, come Sunday, that's the day. Ooh. I walked out and said, thank you. It was a music audition.
Yeah.
Luther Henderson came out and stopped me and said, don't you ever do that. He said, this is a music we want to see. I said, it was a musical audition, Mr. Henderson. I wanted to show you. I wanted to do something different. I thought it was swinging. He said, but you didn't sell the song to us, right? And you were supposed to do, present it. Honey, I give my honey my money. I said, well, that's the acting part of it, Mr. Henderson. I just wanted to do something grooving. And he's like, yeah, right? So I fell on my sword, right? But I would still do it the same way because everybody else was handing them the music and, you nod to the percussion, to the accompanist. I got plenty of nothing, nothing's plenty for me. And we came in, it was like two dudes hanging at home.
Because they see 200 people saying, I got plenty of nothing, same thing.
But boy, Luther Henderson ripped me a new asshole.
But you made a bold choice.
I made a bold choice, yeah.
And sometimes it works like you say.
Always make a bold choice.
Make a bold choice, right? My final question
and don't lie.
Yeah.
Don't lie. I've been in auditions. Great job. Well, they're not doing it anymore. Great job starting out is to be a reader. Volunteer. Go to casting directors and say, I will volunteer to be a reader. Because you will see all the things you need to do and all the things you should never do. Boy, people come in there and do some of the worst things ever. And this one guy came in and said, and he was like looking at the resume, and the director said, I see you were in this play. Yes. Oh, it was great production. I played such and such role, and it was great. It was wonderful. And he said, all right, go ahead and read. And he read, and he said, all right, thank you. He said, that's good. And he left. And he said, the director looked at me and said, I directed that play. The second just lied. I directed that play, and he literally just lied. And I was just like, man, that was amazing. Don't lie. Don't lie.
But the great thing about readers I've known a lot of readers who have read with great directors for auditions, and they end up getting cast.
Yeah, that was another thing.
That's the other thing. So
that never happened with me, but yeah.
My final question is, you have such an incredible career as an actor. What would your older self tell your younger self when you were starting out?
Yeah, wow, that's a really good question.
Because you've done everything. You've worked. I mean, you have more to do, but you've worked with so many incredible directors, so many incredible actors, done so much incredible work on stage, screen, and television.
Yeah, be courageous. Yeah. Art is not a competition. You're on your own journey. And so you can't compare yourself to other people. Like, oh, he got that or she got that. I should be there, whatever. Work out, my big fat ass. Yeah, work out more. I work out, but some people got to work out more. And it's not fair. Some people, that's, you know what I'm saying? You just got to accept. Everybody has a different cross, right? also, there are those who do not have your best interests at heart. So the best way to combat that is with your work, a high level of expertise and professionalism, and be a student of your craft. Be a student of your craft, because certain people will see that and go, man, that's who I want to work with, right? You will go through and around those people who do not have your best interest at heart. There was a casting director who told me straight out of school, well, Wendell, I can't hire you for like a Shakespeare play or something, or a Shakespeare film, because they didn't have black people back then. Mm-hmm. Exact words. And I said, I think Shakespeare is brilliant, but he could not make us up. Right. They had black people back then. And I went and I got this card, a painting by Rubens, John Paul Rubens, Study of a Negro Head, 1620-something. I used to carry that around in case I encountered someone like him again. I said, oh no, they couldn't make black people up. See, we existed, right? I was a student of my craft, so I could be prepared to tell them. I said they had so many black people in Elizabethan London that they actually put out a stop the immigration of your slaves and servants to London. We got too many black folks in London. So they had a prohibition, an immigration prohibition. One of the things that led to the abolishment of it, Wilberforce. Be a student of your craft. Be a student of your craft. That's what I would tell my younger self continually. And then have courage with that knowledge. Act in the face of fear. I think what went well, and I would also say to my younger self, yeah, good idea, keep doing that, which is be diverse. The thing that I pride myself on is the fact that I did theater, I do television, I do film. And the more you do that, the more opportunities there'll be. And I don't hold it against folks and actors who say, no, I just want to do film. Others who are, theater, that's it. But the more you do, the more opportunities there'll be, and work gets you work. And when an opportunity to do a film isn't there, there may be an opportunity to do a play. Opportunity to do some television isn't there. It's an opportunity to do a film, and vice versa. I tried to do the trifecta every year, a play, some television, and a film. And I would tell the younger selves, always work with students, because it will give you a chance to go out there and meet some of the people you're going to see in the theater and on the film sets coming up, And that's the thing I look back on now, after almost 40 years. People say, Mr. Pierce, I don't know if you remember, we met when I was a PA on this project, or I was a stage manager on another project. So, and the last thing, you're going to be talking a lot to your younger self, Wendell. The last thing is, employment doesn't define you as an artist. That has saved me many a time from losing hope. Yeah. From losing hope. Yeah.
I want to thank you. You and I have spoken numerous times, but to sit with you one-on-one, my friend, this was great. Ladies and gentlemen, Wendell Pierce.
Thank you. Thank you. Like that? Thank you. Thank you.